Hey beacons, how have you been? Have you ever watched an ant at work, carrying its load tirelessly while moving towards purpose? Now compare that with a grasshopper who sits idly, lounging and doing nothing. While each of them have their unique traits, we must embody the traits of an ant as parents if we must raise wholesome and better evolved kids. Join me as we explore planning and preparedness as a very vital part of discipline, using the story of the ant and the grasshopper. Now, a lot of us may have heard the story, but for the benefit of those of us who are new to it or who haven't heard it at all, let us dive right in with a summary. The story of the ant and the grasshopper goes thus. One summer, the grasshopper was seen lounging idly with a violin or a guitar under a tree and trying to maybe record a tune, claiming he was an artist. And then while he was there, he was saying he was tuning and saying he couldn't remember the lyrics and all, and then was trying to be, a posh guy, sleek and all. So he looked up and saw some ants carrying stuff. Some were carrying crumbs, some were carrying thistles, some were carrying turns. And then he stopped. One came closer and he asked, "What are you doing carrying that such heavy load?" And then the ant replied that they are packing food to store away for the winter. And then the grasshopper was surprised and said, why would you have to go through all the stress? Why do you have to carry this much weight? You're such little ants just because you want to save up for some winter that is far away. So the ant was surprised, like, okay, when it's winter, and asked, when it's winter, what will you eat? He said, well, winter, the grasshopper replied and said, winter is far away. Before that time, I would have decided on what, or when the time comes to take care of itself. Summarily, the ant left him, and then winter came, and then of course, you know how it usually goes. It wasn't a happy ending for the grasshopper because he was very hungry. But at the end of the day, he went to the ant, and then the queen ant said they could give him food since he came up to their doorstep. They did, and I think the grasshopper learned a lesson. So today we're going to explore the relationship this story has with planning and preparedness. And then to do that successfully, we have to look at the traits of the ant. The very first one that got my curiosity, like that got me really interested, was the definiteness of purpose. The ant is very, very clear about what he wants. Number one is the survival of its colony. Number two is prosperity. It wants to have abundance, just like Joseph in the Bible story, where they had to store when there was surplus and then opened their storehouses to sell to people when there was lack. The ant is very clear about his purpose. He knows what he wants, and then he doesn't stop there. He doesn't say, I know that I want this thing, and then he sits and says, oh God, I wish this thing could come to me. He doesn't, right? The next character trait, that brings us to the next character trait, goal setting. You may have a definite chief aim or a definite purpose, but you do not have goals that would help you get this definite chief aim to reality. Now, the ant is not just clear, he sets goals. While I was looking at this allegory, I was wondering, is there really a difference between definiteness of purpose and goal setting? I got curious and I went further and I discovered that yes, they may seem like they are alike, but they are not. While a definite chief aim is a clear or precise vision or mission, the goals are specific, action bound, measurable stuff you set, plans, or okay, let's say plans of action you set to make sure that you achieve your definite chief aim. So what are the goals of the ant? He sets a specific target. Okay, for so and so number of days, i'll be gathering I'll be gathering food, right? Gathering food, and then gathering thistles and thorns to make sure their nests are well ready for the summer. Okay, now that takes us to the next trait of the ant. He doesn't stop at goal setting. He goes on to plan and then to prepare. which is our focal point in this video today: planning and preparedness. Now, I recently learned that a goal without plans is just a wish. He who fails to plan, they commonly say, popularly say, plans to fail, right? Now, we all will agree that common sense is usually not common knowledge. That something is common does not mean that everybody will know it. So, why is planning important to the ant? He has to know what number of days he has during the summer that he has to collect what he needs to collect. He has to know what he needs to collect in the first place. He has to know, because these plans help him stay focused on the goal at hand. What is the goal? To build formidable nests that will last them through summer, and to gather food so that they will not go hungry. That brings us to our next point: long-term thinking. The ant is a long-term thinker. He understands that there are two different seasons: one wherein he can build or he can gather and keep, the other one where he cannot do, like the scripture says, we should work during the day, for the night cometh when no man can work, or you should make hay while the sun shines, right? The ant doggedly and wisely goes tirelessly. The obstacles are there, but he doesn't stop, because he knows that when summer is over and he has not hit his target, he has not met his set goals, then they will either starve or not have a comfortable place to stay throughout winter. So he stays on task, he stays there, he makes sure that he achieves everything he has set out to achieve during the during the period he has allotted. He's a long-term thinker. If he wasn't thinking long term, he'll be like the grasshopper and just lounge, or maybe gather for a day and say tomorrow will take care of itself, and forget about the whole thing after altogether. He has work ethic and he's very persistent. A lot of us do not have any ethics at all. And then we fail to realize that when we stand for nothing, we'll fall for everything. We are not known for any values. Anything just goes with us. And then persistence, oh my God, it's a far cry from what some parents have. There's a little challenge and then you go back to your old ways. Now, while it is okay to raise your children the way you were raised, I'm sometimes forced to think, or I'm tempted to ask whoever says that right back at me, like to me, I'm forced to ask them, why don't you cook the way your parents cooked? Why don't you drive the cars your parents drove? Why don't you wash clothes with the way you're using the methods your parents used? If you are improving on previous knowledge, if you are improving on what you already knew in these areas, why is it okay to raise your children with using the exact scripts you were taught with? Now, I'm not saying there's any right or wrong way, or there's a hard and fast rule about it. I'm just saying that even if their systems were excellent, over the years there have been a lot of improvements, a lot of improvements on that excellence. And doesn't excellence also mean upgrading, like having an upgrade? If there was a 1.0 that worked efficiently, over the years there have been new additions that were not available to your parents from way back. Why don't you now level up and upgrade to 2.0? That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't yell at your children, don't spank them, or don't hit them. If that's what keeps you going, if that's how you treat the free gifts God give you, then it's okay. Now, come to think of it, have you ever paused to consider, like, your car, how much it costs you? Okay, the manufacturer gives you definite steps of maintenance. It tells you the tips, the colors of paint, or the type of detergent or car wash liquid to use for the car, so the paint won't chip off or there won't be scratches here and there. Because this car costs you maybe $45,000 or 100 or $200,000, don't you adhere to these rules? Because you do not want to ruin the car, right? Don't want to lose your investment. Now, why don't you follow the steps, the guidelines, the manual God who gave you these children have provided? Because they are free, right? Because we usually do not treat free things with a lot of value. Because you got them for free, because you didn't pay for the child you have, or the number of children you have, you think you can treat them just anyhow. You think you can allow thorns grow on the garden. Remember that video from last week about parenting and gardening? You can allow thorns grow and then you don't care. Also think about the fact that if you paid for these children, will you treat them the way you are treating them right now? Now, even if you are putting in some effort, would you beat your chest and confidently say that it is 100% you are giving in raising those children? Will you confidently say, yes, I am doing my absolute best? If you are preparing for an exam and the way you're raising your children right now is the way you are preparing for the exam, will you be sure to pass? Let's just say pass, for instance, and then let's now take it up. Will you be sure to make a distinction? Will you be excellent? If the answer to this question or these questions are no, then I think you know what to do after this video, right? Number six rather, is consistency and organization. Goodness me, it has to take a lot of consistency to gather all summer long against all odds to fill a storehouse. You have to be very organized to know where to place your thorns, to know where to place your thistles, to know where to place the crumbs and which not to even gather in the first place. Organization and consistency. Now, in connecting the dots between this allegory and parenting, we should, like we said earlier, imbibe the character traits of an ant. The grasshopper wouldn't do all of these. That's why he went on hungry and then he went begging for food. While the grasshopper had the opportunity to go hungry and beg. Are you sure in the future, when your children are not the kinds of children who will be causing change or disrupting what is already known as norm, are you sure you would have the opportunity to go and beg an ant if you are a grasshopper parent right now? Are you sure there's such a second chance? Are you sure you will not go hungry? Now, this video is not meant to suggest to you how to behave or raise your children. It's just meant to get you to thinking. If you're doing well, if you are an ant, beautiful, well done. But even as the ant, can you go from 70% to 100? Is there a new way of doing things that you need to learn? Are there methods you currently need to improve on? Because life is a continuous learning process. Nobody would say they know it all because the day you stop learning is the day you die. So, how do we connect the dots? How does this relate to our chief focus for this series? Discipline. If you must be disciplined, you must plan and you must be prepared. If you must plan and prepare, you must have a definite chief aim. What is your aim for your children? What is your vision for your family? What is your mission? Why are you raising the kinds of children you're raising? Now, what are your goals towards achieving that clearly defined vision? What are you doing in terms of planning, in terms of preparation to make sure that you achieve those goals? Remember that a medical doctor you want to raise won't become a medical doctor, for instance, until he puts in maybe 6 to 12 or whatever number of years it will take for him to be to go through school to be a medical doctor. Now, during that process, what other skills are you just focusing on the academics alone? What other skills are you inculcating in him or her that will help him not just be a medical doctor in practice, but be an excellent one for that matter? Remember, our chief aim at the end of the day is to bring excellence into every facet of our lives as parents. Now, remember, monkey says monkey does not apply when it comes to parenting. It is monkey sees, monkey does. Now, if you have set goals for yourself, I'm going to lose weight in the next 3 months, and you are not even planning, you're not putting things in place to make sure that you achieve those goals. Are you aware that your children are watching? And then they're also going to set goals, and because mommy or daddy couldn't stick with theirs, they're going to fall along the line. We are beacons. Every other person can say, "Hey, according to a local joke, like a joke, a common joke in Nigeria, like native country, they'll say, "Na fat, I no kill person." Whether they're saying, "I'm just fat, I didn't kill anybody." While you are not killing anybody, are you sure you're not killing yourself and indirectly the future of your children? Because that is a goal. Losing weight is a goal you have set, and then you're not achieving it. And then how dare you, for instance, yell at your child for saying he would maybe clean the table and he hasn't done it? Have you removed the speck from your eye? Why are you trying to remove the log from another person's eye? Now let's talk about long-term thinking. um Pastor Olakunle Sorion, popularly called PK, always says, think 30 years. Whoever is 70 now will be 100. Whoever is 20 will be 50. If you are 100, you'll be dead. It makes me laugh, but it's true. If you are 100, you'll be dead. If you are 1, you'll be 31. Add 30 years to the number of years your children are right now. The skills you are currently teaching them, will they thrive? Or will they just glide by? Will they survive? Or will they live an amazing and awesome, a phenomenal life? If the answer is no, this video is not meant to judge you. This is to get you back to the drawing board and begin to plan and prepare for that future you dream of, just like an ant. Let's not talk about work ethic and persistence. You need to be very, 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 very ethical. You must have your values clearly defined so that you will know the people that are traveling this journey with you. It takes a community to raise children. But if you do not know the kind of children you want to raise, you will not even know who the members of this community will be at the end of the day. You must be sure, you must be clear on the kind of children, your definite chief aim. Remember, you must then imbibe the character traits of the person who is able to raise those kinds of children. It is not on the battlefield the general learns to fight. He goes through training over the years that prepare him for such a battle. So it is not when he's a medical doctor or a lawyer or an influencer that he'll start learning emotional intelligence, learning discipline, learning to focus, learning goal execution, initiation, task initiation and completion, learning executive functioning skills. It means that if you have thought long term, all these things should be taught to them, like split into annual goals, quarterly or monthly or weekly goals, just to make sure that at the end of that 12-year span, you have instilled these skills in your children. How about consistency? Just like the ant, as parents, we must be consistent and very organized. Now, if your workflow cannot be replicated seamlessly when you are not around, then something is wrong. Because if you build the system around you, what if you are in coma? What will happen to your home? Your system must be written down and be easy to follow by a 5-year-old or maybe a 4-year-old, so that when you're not available, when you're temporarily indisposed, somebody can fill in. Of course, remember I said it takes a community to raise children, meaning you must pick carefully, cautiously the members of that community, because you don't want to be sowing seeds and unknowingly, like unintentionally, a member of your community is sowing tares. You will be setting yourself up for failure at the end of the day. Let us consider these 3 scriptural verses as we conclude. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24. Now, after this video, take a minute, just sit down and think on these videos. Spare the rod and spoil the child, in summary. While some people think the rod is very literal, I would beg to differ and say it is figurative. Just like a lot of the other scriptural verses in, especially in the book of Proverbs. Solomon was a wise man, correct? And then he had a way of writing or thinking really, really deeply. So let's not take it at surface level and assume that the rod here means flogging or yelling or spanking or shaming. What if it means discipline? How much discipline are you even modeling to your child in the first place? Because remember, in parenting, monkey does and monkey shows and monkey does. The monkey will watch you and repeat. Remember last week we mentioned that children learn by observation and imitation. The next one we should consider is Proverbs 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. How are you training them right now? Are you training them to be task initiators? Are you training them to be problem solvers? Are you training them to panic or cry? Now, last week I was teaching my children about problem solving, and I told them when you have a problem, step STEP, STEP, just so that it will stick. You say the problem, you think of a possible solution, you explore alternatives, and then you pick one and act on it. You see, when you arm them with skills, when challenges come, they will know how to face them. That doesn't mean that you are raising perfect children or children who are not allowed to fail. It just means that you are putting in the work deliberately and intentionally, and you are reducing the odds or chances or probability of failure at the end of the day. The last one will be Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. Take a time and go back and read the scriptures, all right? Really meditate upon them. This word of truth shall not depart from your heart. You should meditate upon them day and night, right? This verse talks about discipline being very difficult at the time. It's not pleasing when it's happening. It's not pleasant, rather, but after some time you realize that, well, it was worth it. When you're organizing, when you're building the structure or putting structures in place, it is not easy. When you're studying, when you're looking at ways of becoming a better informed or evolved parent, it is not easy. But when you put in the work, just like the ants did, during summer, during winter, you find out that you will not panic when other people are looking for food. You just go to your storehouse and pick some and eat. And then you can even have to sell like Joseph did, or share like the ants did with the grasshopper. We've been able to establish the connection between the grasshopper and the ant in relation with planning and preparedness on our chief topic for this month, for the remainder of the month, discipline. And we're going to run this as a four-part series. Next week, we'll be looking at another metaphor. I hope you would watch the video so that you learn from that too. So discipline is not just in wishing. It doesn't come with wishing and hoping. It comes with planning and preparedness. And we said to plan, you must have a definite chief aim, you must set goals, you must plan and prepare, you must think long term, you must have good work ethics, and then you must be persistent, you must be organized, and you must be consistent. Now, I'll end this by asking you, like, you can lie to everyone, you can deceive other people, but you definitely cannot lie to yourself or deceive yourself. Look at what you have going right now. Are you an ant or is a grasshopper? Depending on the answer to that question, what can you begin to do now to make sure that you are raising wholesome kids who will solve problems, future problems? Remember, we're thinking long term here. And like PK says, add 30 years to your age and those of your children. Where will they be then? What future do you see? What is your definite chief aim? If you found value in this video, please like, share, and then get your friends and loved ones to subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications so you will not miss new videos every Friday. From the Lorry brand, we're saying we believe in you, we're rooting for you, and we hope that you start thinking and acting like an ant. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. God bless you.